Our next session is entitled Cloud Data Lakes, the Foundation for Digital Organization. Now, we all recognize how the pandemic has impacted traditional business models. In this session, we're going to hear how organizational agility and resiliency driven by data is making digital transformation possible. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Sachin Arora, partner and head of Lighthouse at KPMG India, who will lead this panel discussion. Sachin.
Sure. Thanks for introduction. May I request if I can put my video on? It says the host has disabled it. Okay. A quick check. Am I audible? Visible?
You're good, Sachin. Your video and audio are all there.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for EDM Council for inviting me over for this conversation and this discussion. Always pleasure to be part of the community and sharing my thoughts. Great to catch up again. So today's topic that we're going to discuss is about cloud data lakes, foundation for digital organization. Maybe request to move to the next slide, please. Yeah, I mean, needless to say, and pandemic has just kind of enforced that the world is indeed data-driven, and more so in the non-physical form, as we are most of us sitting at home and almost using internet for commerce to engagement to almost everything. So all the organizations that are having a touch point with us are generating this digital traces and forming an opinion about us to either sell or cross-sell or nudge a product. So the world is indeed getting data-driven faster than ever. We at KPMG are very thrilled that the core expertise in cloud is reaping its benefits and working with some of our top accounts and top customers to really give them business outcomes driven by data. So we have on the panel some of our clients and some of our folks we're in touch with. So we have Vijay Balakrishnan, who's the group CTO for Michelin. We have Nitin Agarwal, who's the president and the group CDO for Edelweiss. I will definitely introduce them in the follow-up slides. Yeah, so can we move to the next slide, please? Right. So, before joining KPMG, I was head of analytics and big data for Amazon Web Services in India. And having built that practice ground up, I can say that cloud data lakes is on a high. I'm not biased towards Amazon here. I'm just talking generally about cloud. The reason and fact is that cloud and data is like a marriage made in heaven. Uncertain about data, uncertain about business outcomes, uncertain about variety of data that you're going to deal with. The upfront investment for unknown ROI is a very difficult ask for businesses to approve, and hence cloud data lakes become a very, very I would say easy option, as you can grow with your business and not necessarily with the IT. And the options and on the cloud are just so many that you could pick up the right set of tools to pick up the right business outcomes or the right use cases that you may want to drive. So cloud data lakes is on a high, and we are seeing more and more organizations tilting towards that. Maybe move to the next slide, please. So they, as I kind of covered already, they handle uncertainty about volume, use cases, and you don't want to make an upfront investment. It allows you to enter small and not necessarily with the $1 million check. And of course, when the cost is low, you would love to do experimentation, and experimentation would lead to some failures and some success, and the success would kind of grow either at the top line of a company or optimize the bottom line. So both essentially helping the business out. Maybe move to the next slide, please. Very recently, we conducted a survey with HFS, and we figured out this was a survey done by KPMG that 56% of global enterprise leaders agree that the cloud migration has become an absolute necessity. And this is indeed true. And we are actually seeing somewhat a higher percentage more specifically in India. India being, I would say, a digital first country in the sense that we have more phones than laptops. There's a saying is more phones than toilet seats that we have in the country. So, we generate more digital traces than anything else. And of course, and cloud gives us that option to drive that experimentation for various organizations. So maybe move to the next slide. Yeah, so we're going to talk about, from our clients who are part of the conversation today, and some of the other observatory customers who are using cloud at large, about what kind of challenges are they seeing on cloud, what kind of problem statements are they throwing upon. And, we, along with EDM Council, are actually working on a best practices industry framework on cloud data catalog with EDM Council. So this is, a work that both the firms are doing jointly. So you should see some announcement coming soon in the space. So yeah, can we move to the next slide? So with this, let me invite Vijay Balakrishnan, Group Chief Data Officer for Michelin, and Nitin Agarwal, President and Group CIO for Edelweiss, on the call if they're around.
Yes,
yeah.
Hey, Vijay.
So, hey Vijay, pleasure meeting you. So let me just start with you, Vijay. So I know you guys are using a lot of cloud infrastructure for data management. I would just like to, ask what kind of use cases are you throwing to cloud with respect to data, and what's kind of giving you some sleepless nights about security on cloud?
Sure, I can go first. This is Vijay. So the simple answer is everything. We have a cloud first approach towards our entire data fabric thought process. Yes, we do carry a legacy of data warehousing, on-prem data warehousing, which is supposed to be legacy, and we are not investing in it anymore. So everything since 2 years back has been completely focused around the cloud and the data lakes on the cloud. And I completely align with you on the advantages you called out around the cloud data lakes itself. Very less upfront investment. You get to try things and fail fast from a business perspective, and keep modifying your approach towards your business strategy when you're on the cloud. So that's the reason, and that is the primary driver why we went behind a 100% cloud focus. And to give you a sense of what we are putting on the cloud around the data lakes in the cloud, we are Michelin is known as a tire company. We are of course 100+ years old traditional manufacturing company. We are reinventing ourselves in the digital era. Okay, so we are actively becoming a digital mobility solutions provider. So in this transformational journey, there's a wide variety of things we want to change or bring new into what we do, and cloud is becoming like a central piece of all that game plan. We are reinventing a lot of our internal operations going on a productivity rampage um, on the cloud, all enterprise data on the cloud. They're actually coming up with newer data monetization strategies, newer business models around data, specifically around our services and solutions ballgame. And there, all the sensor data coming from the tires that are on the customer side and everything is actually on the cloud. Number three, we are reinventing our manufacturing process. In fact, this is almost 75-80% done. So this started way back. So we are completely digitizing our manufacturing process, and there is a digital manufacturing data lake that is on the cloud. Um, having said having said that, right? So there is still a piece that is not in cloud at this point in time, which is a core of the core IP for us. Okay, we're still not that risk embracing to go full on the cloud, including our core engineering and some of those components. But other than that, I want to say almost when I compare it, when I go from a volume perspective, about 85% of our data actually uses cloud as a central data repository.
Wonderful. And I think that sums up well that the amount of data that you're talking about, the sensors coming, it would actually not just be a lot of cost, but also the ROI that we could return on investment. That's possible in the world of cloud, which is very difficult to kind of reap in the traditional on-premises world, because just the sheer volume that it keeps on adding, and to make sense of that data, to keep, not keep, to keep in hot, cold storage, definitely cloud gives you many options. I completely agree with you, Vijay, on this. So we also have Nitin on the call. So Nitin actually is a group CIO for Edelweiss. So Nitin, we would love to kind of hear you out. Being a financial services company, and putting the data lake on cloud, how does it gives you a sense from the security point of view, and what kind of do you sleep well with that, or have you figured that out?
Yeah, in fact, I would say I sleep much better than that, than what we were doing. So if you look at from a financial services perspective, and just back up from the security, today financial services is about ecosystem plays, right? No financial services provider can, sit in isolation to provide services to the consumer. You will be interacting with your banking services, your payment services, and generally an ecosystem at large. Now, to be able to provide any modern experience which consumers have come to expect from you, you need to have on-demand services. You need to have your data which has to be scaled out, and you need to have a data which can be shared in a secured manner, but without putting boundaries in terms of the perimeter boundaries that traditionally we were doing. So the whole security model for us in terms of a cloud or any other data, actually, before we move the data, parallelly, we took a big initiative around in Edelweiss to actually move the entire security architecture from a perimeter to a zero trust architecture. And this happened around not just, just a end user computer servers, but all our security infrastructure point of view, whether it was data. We control today data in terms of access at a field level and a data level, and there's a complete data governance framework on that. But to be able to build that scale out model, it was essential for us, to have the cloud in play, to not only provide services, but also to provide security. Because on-prem model, what we were looking at security, while we were okay to close the perimeter, the scale out was never a solution to that extent. And at the same time, the use cases that we were able to do because of this traditional security approach were fairly limited. So we were not able to explore the usage. Today, our data warehouse, data lake, and then goes to data warehouse and data mart. is used foundation for all our platforms. We use it for analytics, we use it for machine learning, we use it for our API infrastructure. So anything that you talk about uses this common infrastructure, and there's a complete governance and security model which was laid out with the cloud security. I think what organizations need to understand that while they move to cloud, they actually need to change the security model. I've seen people struggling with keeping an existing security model and kind of trying to move the cloud, and I don't think that gives the best bang for the buck, as they say. So I think the security is different in cloud. It's not about more or less secure, and as long as you approach it from that differentiation of security, and if you put that framework in place, I think actually you sleep much better than on-prem scenario as well.
Sure, I think that's a good question. We have a question actually coming from audience that is it possible, okay, to get the KPMG survey result? Of course, we will definitely pass it on. So John and Mike, that's on me. Now coming back to this conversation, I know we have few minutes left. So this question is both for Nitin and Vijay. I know you guys have talked about the comfort that you both have to put data on cloud and feel more secure, that it gives you more options. So Nitin, this one is for you. What kind of an ROI and what kind of use case that you said you could explore with machine learning on cloud or data on cloud? Give us some business context that's kind of possible now, was not possible earlier. And on a similar lens, maybe Vijay, if you could talk about what stage of cloud adoption you are. Is it like a early stage that you're using cloud but not like incomplete, or like moving towards cloud native? So over to you, Nitin first, and followed by Vijay.
Okay, so in terms of a business use case today, I would say, see, Edelweiss is a financial services which is spread across various areas. We are into multiple insurance business and credit and wealth management business, and different businesses are at different stage of evolution. But our whole vision is that the machine learning, specifically the question you asked, will be utilized across our customer life cycle. If I just take one example of our life insurance business, today we have models right from our agent or partner onboarding in terms of their propensity and fraud checks and AML checks, to a customer onboarding in terms of how we can provide their seamless experience, the straight through processes. We use huge amount of risk models under there, right down to our operations, which is doing model in terms of underwriting, and then customer service, how we are able to reach the customer before customer comes to us to be able to provide all the information, and then goes on to the customer life cycle of cross-selling and upselling. So we have actually deployed models on each areas of the customer life cycle and our business processes, and that's the plan we are replicating across our businesses. The businesses, as I said, are in different stages, but I think once you've got the data right and your machine learning model right, what we realize, it can be applied to any area and every area on your customer life cycle, and that can provide a huge efficiency and uptick to your business. And also we have seen, while we have deployed these services in multiple businesses, our ability to launch new products, our ability to launch customized products for our customers, and therefore ability to gain market share as well as improve our NPS scores with the customer have significantly gone higher.
Thank you. And Vijay, if you could talk about the adoption journey, um, it, how long would it take to call Michelin Data Story a cloud native, which is like fully leveraging all the tools and technologies of cloud?
I honestly think we're probably a couple of years away. Right? To make it very objective, we are there. We're getting there. We have our vision straightened out. All our energies and budgets and people and projects are all focusing in the direction. Like you said, we're actually trying new business models. We're using cloud for those business models, which is fantastic. Okay, so because upfront investment is very low, we can try a couple of things and quickly learn fast, fail fast, change. Um, and a little bit on AI and ML, right? Of course, we use a lot of AI solutions in automation of our design, of our testing, of the entire manufacturing shop floor, of quality checks that we perform, we use AI around marketing, pricing analysis, even so on to predict customer behaviors, and there's absolutely a wide bandwidth of things on which we are focusing our efforts around AI and then machine learning, and cloud becomes like a native choice for all those use cases. Having said all that, our principal focus is actually to democratize data and AI across the organization. Um, we can always build structured solutions. We will continue to do that with or without cloud. We're going to find a way to make it happen, right? So we have a bunch of tech geeks around who can actually make that happen. But our principal concern is how do we, I as a chief data officer, how do I take data to masses? Okay, so and number one, number two, we're also getting into a cloud native as well as a API first strategy. Okay, so we want to almost weave the entire bits and pieces of data flow as individual API blocks that are connected to each other, so that the exposition of data at any level can happen seamlessly, either at the most abstract level or at the most granular level. Okay.
Sure.
Thirdly, I just want to add, you talked about hot and cold data. Our vision 5 years from now, I want to say, the norm will not be batch processing. We want to completely switch to a event-driven architecture. We want to actually be much more reactive to upstream events that happen in our business flows. And then in doing that, we want to switch the data lake itself, right, more towards hot storage from cold storage. Kafka becoming the central focus around that. Okay, so yeah.
Thank you, Vijay. And I think very insightful learnings from you and both from you and Nitin. I personally always learn a lot talking to all of you, and great to represent this conversation. Mike, over to you. Thank you.